Hey guys, Wade Willis here. I'm here to tell you guys why the Mandalorian episode, The Jedi, aka Chapter 13, is probably the most important thing to happen in Star Wars in the last 4 to 5 years. This episode really changed everything. We started to, um, this really built on the connective tissue from like Clone Wars and Rebels. And yes, I'm aware that Bo Katan was brought in 2 episodes ago. Great. But the important part, obviously, elephant in the room, yes, we got to see Ahsoka. I was really surprised that she played such a major part in the episode. I thought they were going to have her in for maybe 2 or 3 minutes as like, kind of like, hey, here's Ahsoka. But she was incredibly important in this episode, and her actions uh, were based on how she saw Anakin fall to the dark side, and she doesn't feel comfortable. I believe since she saw the fall of Anakin, she loved Anakin, cared for him, and was not able to actually prevent him from falling to the dark side. She feels like she failed, and I think that she feels like she would fail again if she trained Grogu, which is Baby Yoda's name. I know there was a lot of hate. Some people liked it, some people hated it. Listen, Yoda's not really a super appealing name. We've just grown so accustomed to Yoda. They're phonetically similar sounding, and it made sense that that is the name of the child. Do I like it particularly? I don't know. I'm kind of whatever on it. But overall, it makes sense for that, or for that species. He was trained as a Jedi and somehow survived Anakin killing all the younglings and the whole genocide that happened of the Jedi during the fall of the Republic. Now, this is different than I had expected going into this. I just thought he was a random force sensitive that wasn't found by the Jedi or the Sith at the fall of the Republic, and that is part of the reason why people are fighting for him now. But I'm sure we're going to get more of his backstory and understand what has been going on with Grogu through this, and that's going to be an interesting backstory, knowing that he actually was trained in the Force previously. Now, there's another interesting thing with Ahsoka being brought in. I assumed that the end of Rebels, the finale of Rebels, when we see Ahsoka kind of looking like a white mage almost. Um, when we see her like that, I assume that was going to be before this episode, but based on how Ahsoka looks and is acting, I feel like this episode of The Mandalorian actually happened time wise before she turns into like the white mage with the staff. I think the Ahsoka spinoff, at least in the first season, is going to happen virtually from this point of this episode of The Mandalorian to where she becomes kind of the mage, the like Gandalf, almost a Gandalf the White character that she looked like in Rebels. So I think that would be a super interesting story to show her development as a character, where like it looks like she's so enveloped in the light side. She's like literally the light side being in Rebels. It almost at the end of Rebels it looked like to me. And here she's still unsure of herself. You could see that she's still like regretting a lot of her decisions, things like that, which she maybe never will get over. But there's going to be a large reckoning of her as a character to lead from her at this point to where she is in the Rebels finale, in my opinion, where her and Sabine are going to go looking for Ezra. I'm assuming you guys can guess what is most important to me if you guys are aware of who's behind me. And the fact that Ahsoka was looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn is a game changer for Star Wars. I knew that he was going to be brought into kind of this Filoniverse eventually this live action Filoniverse. There had been rumors that they were looking for someone to play a live action Thrawn months ago, but the fact that they actually like put in that her purpose is looking for Thrawn, that's why she was in this planet doing the stuff that she was doing. Um, really important. And for those of you that like love Ezra and you're like, is he alive or dead at the end of Rebels? With him and Thrawn, okay, this kind of tells us, okay, he's probably alive since Thrawn is thought to be alive. What do I think this means for the future with how they're developing Star Wars? One, I feel like they're going to bring in Thrawn, maybe just like a cameo in the season finale. It's going to be super important. But all of this is going to trigger a lot of things in this Star Wars universe that they're developing, the new canon. I believe they're going to have, I believe they're going to finally announce that Star Wars Rebels sequel, like the Search for Ezra that everyone's been hoping for. Probably going to do that. Going to announce the Ahsoka spinoff. I think both of those things are going to be separate. And again, there's going to be other things developing. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually maybe they had a Thrawn TV show. That would be awesome. But Thrawn being put into this adds so much to this story. I don't know if he'll be a recurring villain in The Mandalorian. I kind of don't think so. But I think that this is going to shape the future of Disney live action and animation for years to come. For those of you that have been reading the Thrawn books, and if you haven't read the Thrawn books, there is another force that is incredibly dangerous named the Grisk. And this is kind of the new canon's version of the Yuzong Vong. And there's some differences, but how their people are is very similar. Extremely vicious, frightening, can try to like enslave people and make them bend to their will. Incredibly frightening. And I feel like the Grisk are going to become the center force in these new stories in this time period that's going on, because it justifies why Ezra, Ahsoka, Thrawn, all these important central characters in Star Wars were not involved in the sequel movie trilogy. Because really all of them are outside of it, and we think that they were alive in that time period. Maybe not. Maybe this is why they weren't in it. They die in this time period. But I think the Grisk are going to be a central force for Star Wars in the future. And all of that is why I think this episode is the most important thing to happen in Star Wars in, probably the last 5 years. But I love to know what you guys think. Are you guys excited for Thrawn being in this as I am? And I'm going to do, for those of you that aren't aware of who Thrawn is, in the next day or two, I'm going to come out with a video kind of going through the history of Thrawn through old Star Wars legends and just overall what's gotten him to this point in the current canon.